Well, earlier I spoke to the head of journalism at Auckland University of Technology, Martin Hurst, and asked for his assessment of the stunt.
I think it was a failure of leadership in the newsroom. At whatever level the decision was made, it was a mistake, and I would call it a what were they thinking moment. They didn't think through the consequences. They didn't think through the implications of what if it goes wrong, and I think they've been caught out.
What could have gone wrong?
Well, all kinds of things. I think the argument that the police minister makes is probably a valid one. There could have been panic, there could have been scenes of chaos. I mean, you remember the Hillsborough disaster where the stadium collapsed and, you know, a number of people lost their lives. We could have been looking at that kind of scenario. And certainly, you know, if it was in the United States or some other countries, it's a shoot first, ask questions later kind of policy, and somebody could have been killed.
Is there an argument here, though, that this needs to be done in the public's interest?
I think you could make that argument, but I don't think it holds up in this case. The security levels at a Super 14 game in either Christchurch or Hamilton are going to be a lot lower than they would be for the Rugby World Cup next year. I don't think there's a valid comparison to make there, so the premise of the story falls over.
So this is, as we understand, an attempt to test security for the Rugby World Cup, as we've discussed. It does, of course, raise the question, is it the role of the media to act in this way? You would say no.
No, I wouldn't say no in every case. I think the public interest test is what's valid here. How high is the bar? And I think for something like this, if you're going to go to the trouble of organising a stunt, you're probably breaching a number of clauses in the Code of Ethics. You're putting people in danger at some level. And in order to do that, in order to justify that as a news official, as a news editor, you've got to say the public interest is very high. There's got to be a very high level of public interest test. The bar's high on that, and I don't think it was on this case.
So the Sunday Star Times would likely have us believe that this is motivated by social responsibility. How cynical are you about that argument? Is it an attempt just to sell papers?
Probably, and I think, you know, the Sunday market is incredibly competitive, and to be honest, I think what's happened by this being exposed before the Sunday Star Times could print a story, it's given the Herald on Sunday an easy target. I mean, you know, they've painted a big kick me sign on their bum, and I think the Herald on Sunday is going to have a lot of fun with that this weekend, I would imagine. But, you know, there's so many unanswered questions here. Were they dressed as terrorists, and what does that mean? Because, you know, somebody who looks like Osama bin Laden is probably not Osama bin Laden. And in that situation, what was going on? Were they carrying bombs? Were they carrying fake weapons? We just don't have enough information. I haven't seen any photos, so I don't know.
Is it not a good story, though, if it's discovered that even these smaller stadiums don't have good security? What does that mean for the Rugby World Cup?
Well, for the Rugby World Cup, I think it's an issue, but I don't think it's a good story because the premise doesn't hold water. And secondly, realistically, is that going to be a target? Is the stadium in Hamilton or Christchurch at a normal weekend Rugby 14s game actually going to be a target for terrorists? I don't think so. So there is also, I think, the issue here of perhaps creating some kind of panic around that, scaremongering. You know, that could be another side effect. But I guess we won't know until Sunday and the papers come out.
What do you think? Are we likely to see more of these sort of shock tactics as the battle intensifies for readers?
Why not? I mean, you know, they take a number of different forms, and this one was a badly thought through stunt that went wrong. But the competition for the Sunday market, it's probably the most fierce market nationally in New Zealand, I would think, because, you know, the Herald has got very little competition from the Don Post, etc. And in Wellington and Christchurch, there's very little competition in between titles. But in the Sunday market, you've got the Herald on Sunday and the Sunday Star Times circulating nationally, competing for the same readership. So you really want your front page to stand out. And the Herald's got a big advantage because it's a tabloid and, you know, in the shop you can see its entire colourful front page. The Sunday Star Times relies on the top half of the page and a good solid headline and photo to really sell. And so I guess they were hoping to have some kind of terror threat to World Cup headline.
Well, that would sell papers, wouldn't it?
Lots of papers.
Yeah. The police minister says that the papers should be sorry for their actions in this instance. Do you think that they will be?
I think it's really interesting that Mitchell Murphy's not saying anything, and you know, if I was him, I probably wouldn't either. I mean, you know, the damage control experts would tell you, apologise early, apologise often. But I think in his case, you know, he wants to wait, and whatever he's got to say will be said in the Sunday paper. I made a call today to some people I know working over for Fairfax, and they've basically been told not to say anything as well. So obviously there's a bunker mentality there at the moment. They're feeling that they're going to take a hit on this, and they will. But you know, I think it'll be interesting to see how Mitchell Murphy tries to justify this in the paper, whether he writes an editorial or something like that on Sunday. You know, I think he owes people an explanation, and certainly the police are asking for one.
So they may end up with egg on their face.
I think they already have. It's a matter of can they get it off before Sunday.
And that was the Head of Journalism at Auckland University of Technology, Martin Hurst.